For example, of the dance languages of various bee species, some are simpler and some are more complex. Citing such similarities, evolutionists often claim that the more complex versions evolved from the simpler ones or from the ones similar to them, and suppose that by doing so, the task of explaining origins is ticked off as completed. To make a rigorous scientific explanation, however, one should be able to provide a plausible explanation for how the knowledge mutation may have taken place, which is not at all an easy challenge and seems quite preposterous sometimes. In other cases, no reduced versions of the revealed instinct chains are observed in nature, and in certain examples, it is impossible even to conceive of one, as the incomplete versions of these complex behavior forms would not be advantageous for the living entity. All this places great obstacles in the path of evolutionary theorists, since along Darwinian lines, only useful and functional traits are preserved and can evolve any further. For complex instincts, Darwin followers sometimes offer the explanation that these may have evolved from previous behavior forms serving other purposes. In other words, they presume that a specific behavior was complemented, modified, and assumed a new function through a series of mutational steps. At first, this may seem a plausible explanation, but it suffers from two defects. One is that in many cases no detailed answer is given to what could have been those previous steps and what roles those steps could have played. Therefore, what we get, it is not a logically consistent deduction, but yet another general hypothesis. The other problem is that it is not proven, but rather doubtful, that a living being or a whole population can switch from one function of an instinct to another. For the 125th anniversary of its foundation, Science magazine listed 125 embarrassing questions that are yet to be answered by science. One of the questions was, how did cooperative behavior evolve? The question of cooperation is but one phenomenon in animal behavior whose origin has not been answered in evolutionary terms, not even on paper. In the case of complex bodily structures and behavioral traits that consist of interdependent elements, the initial, transitional, or half-completed instinctive behavioral forms would not result in any survival advantage. So the model of gradual development is unsuitable for explaining such behaviors because we would need a sudden, target-oriented restructuring of behavior patterns to get from one useful state to another, skipping a multitude of non-functional transitional stages. This, however, is so unlikely as to be impossible genetically, mathematically, and in a common sense way. It may happen that an inventive evolutionist author picks up a story to account for the origin of the problematic behaviors of cooperating fishes and those of other animals. We should be aware, however, that such made-up evolutionary stories, which are often interspersed with miraculous turns of events that have never been observed in the mundane realities of biology, do not provide any evidence that the phenomenon under scrutiny has appeared in the expected fashion. It may well be that we should seek the answer along the lines of an entirely different paradigm. The concept of irreducible complexity was introduced in the public debate of biological origins by biochemist Michael B. He, a proponent of the intelligent design theory. By definition, a system may be called irreducibly complex if it is composed of several well-matched interacting parts that contribute to the basic function, and where the removal of any one of the parts causes the system to effectively cease functioning. In Behe's argument, systems with such features could not arise through gradual development because the envisioned incomplete evolutionary stages are not functional and are not advantageous for the living being. So, according to the very rules of evolutionary theory, they could not have survived and evolved any further. We can use this logic not only for biochemical and anatomical structures, but for many behavioral patterns also. In many cases, specific behavioral elements together accomplish some reasonable purpose in the life of the animal. But a removal of any of the elements of the instinctive program would result in the program not functioning usefully. On these grounds, the definition of the irreducible structure's instinctive behavior would read like this. The innate mental action plan of a species, including several sub-plans, were an incomplete series of actions, procedure, resulting from an omission of any procedural elements prevents any effective behavior. In order to help grasp the concept of target-oriented structured procedure, let us take a common example. If we wish to withdraw money from a cash dispenser, we must follow a complex procedure which should entail the satisfaction of certain material conditions. First, we have to find the cash dispenser and realize that this is the device that can help us to achieve our goal. We must possess a valid bank card which we must insert into the right slot of the machine. The machine must be functional and filled with banknotes. When prompted by the cash dispenser, we must enter our password for identification and also the amount of money we wish to withdraw. Then the machine connects to the central computer of the bank to check our password and balance, also checking whether the requested sum of money does not exceed the maximum amount of money available. If everything is found okay, then each and every step of the process has been completed and we get the money we want. From the point of view of achieving our goal, this procedure is irreducible structured. If we omitted any of its sub-processes or encountered a technical problem preventing the completion of the transaction, we would not get a single penny. So it is not that we start for the cash dispenser. So this is the process. So it is not that we start for the cash dispenser and automatically get a little cash. And if we go even closer, we get some more. And if we are willing to produce our bank card, we get a tidy sum. No. The whole behavior chain works only if each step has been taken in the right order from the beginning to the very end.